Hey there, Fletch from All Things Overlanding here. Today, I'm pretty excited. I'm going to be doing a rig walk around of my new 2008, new to me anyways, 2008 Nissan Frontier. This thing is Titan swapped. It is fully armored. It's got front and rear bumpers, swing out on the rear, tons and tons of awesome mods. I kind of bought it mostly built, and then I've been building it a little bit since. It didn't run kind of when I bought it. It was supposed to, but it didn't. I'll tell you more about that. But again, I just wanted to kind of walk you around the truck because I'm getting a ton of questions about what's this, what's that, what's the suspension lift, what do you have? So I just wanted to give you guys a quick walk around to show you everything that has gone into building this truck up. Alright guys, so I'm going to start with lighting. I have these blacked out eBay headlights. When I bought the truck, the headlights were basically sand washed. They were all beat up and fogged up and scratched up. There was no way to repair them. So I figured I'd just replace those. I wanted something cheap and I liked the look of the black. I will say that the housings though, the reflectors are pretty terrible. They do okay. I do have aux beam LED replacement headlights in there and I really like those lights, but unfortunately, the housings are just so bad that they don't do much more than the stock, which in my Xterra, when I had the aux beams before, they did a great job. It was just in the stock housing. So these housings look good, and it's not terrible. It's not unusable, but it is a little bit annoying that the reflectors are so bad that it doesn't get quite the throw that you would expect. I am starting to work with a company called Freedom Retrofits. Awesome guy named Austin who builds some custom retrofit lights. So there will be some updates on that in the future. So again, if you're watching this video and you're not subscribed, make sure to click that subscribe button because again, lots of Frontier content coming. But I will be talking a lot about replacing these here in the next month or two probably with those retrofits that I'm really excited about. So those are the headlights, aux beam LEDs. Again, I'll put links to all this stuff in the description down below. The housings look really nice. They just don't reflect very well, but they're okay. For the most part, every light on this truck is aux beam. So there is an aux beam slim LED light bar up there built into the roof rack that does pretty well. The ditch lights are these little 2 LED ditch lights. Again, they do pretty well. Down here in the bumper, there's another, I want to say maybe 20-inch light bar in there that is aux beam that does pretty well. These lights here seem to be out, and these are the only ones that to me don't look like they're aux beam. I'm not 100% sure. I haven't torn into the bumper yet, but I will be taking these out and replacing them probably with aux beam. Similar lights that will replace those. They basically, they just sort of illuminate just barely. They don't throw out any light, but they look like the LED chips are dead or something. So those are those in the bumper down there. Now going around to the back here, I did replace the tail lights too. They were kind of busted up, broken up. One of them was broken out from some trail damage. These are just OEM style eBay lights, maybe 125 bucks. I'll put a card up in the top right corner that links to my how to replace these. It's actually really easy. It's like 2 bolts and you just pull the tail light out and then replace it. But I do have a video showing you how to do that. But I highly recommend these things. They're nice. They come with the bulbs already. They were really inexpensive and it took me maybe 10 minutes to replace them. So I'm loving them. They're great. Then for additional lighting, I'll show you a picture here of what these look like. I just kind of threw these on the bottom of my rooftop tent here, but these are essentially bed lights. It's a bed lighting kit for like a truck bed. It comes with 3 of these type of strips basically. I've got one that runs along the back here and is zip tied up there, and then I've got one that runs along each side of my rooftop tent. But the beautiful thing about this is that when you flip this on, one, they're waterproof, they're intended to be outside, so that's just kind of a nice extra bonus that you get with them. But 2, they've just got a little simple button, which I threw just down here for now. I'm going to be wiring this into my REDARC stuff. But again, just a nice little waterproof button. When you hit that, it kicks on all the lights all the way around, and it does light up the entire bed. It lights up all around the bed. My awning is over here on this side, and it lights up underneath of that. When my tent is open here, it lights up down below the ground where my ladder goes. So it's great. It's just great. And again, super easy to work. On-off switch. Wire it to power, ground it somewhere, and you're good to go. In addition to that too, there's a chase light bar back here, which I believe is also aux beam. This thing is pretty great. It is wired into my turn signal, so it flashes when my turn signals come on. It's got really bright reverse lights, which takes care of my blocked third brake light and keeps me legal, and also gets it up above the spare, which is pretty nice. And then brake lights too, so it actually looks really cool when it is lit up, and it's nice that it functions with the rest of the OEM stuff. All right, so let's talk recovery. This does have a Badlands 9,500 pound winch, I believe, in it. It does have the wireless remote, which is really super handy. I've never had a winch with a wireless remote before, but not having to plug in the controller every time is a really, really nice feature. So I've used it a few times to pull out some friends. I haven't had to use it for myself yet, but I've pulled out some other people, and it's been great. It's performed great. I did take my Factor 55 flat link from my old winch when I sold my Xterra, and I put that on here too just because I really like that. I think it's a nice piece of gear. So that is on here as well. Obviously this has welded in D-ring receivers on it on the front bumper. Same thing back here on the rear. You got a D-ring receiver on each side, and then I do have a full hitch normal receiver that's welded into the bumper. So that's kind of nice. So I could tow things if I need to. I could use it as a recovery point if I need to. But overall, it's pretty nice. All right, so let's talk wheels and tires. Again, when I bought this truck, it was already built. It's on 35-inch tires. They are Goodyear DuraTrack in 315/70 R17. These wheels, if you are not a Nissan person, are the wheels off of a first-gen Xterra, which had the same bolt pattern as a Titan. I'll get into that here a little bit in a second. This is a Titan swapped truck, meaning it has the CVs up front from a QX80 actually in it. So it has the full-size track width. That's why it's so wide. But as a result of that, it has a 6x5.5 bolt pattern for the wheels instead of the 6x114.3 like the normal stock Frontiers and Xterras have. So it has to have different wheels, right? So again, these first-gen Xterra wheels from the supercharged model are pretty good looking wheels. I actually really like these wheels a lot. I think they're cool. They were cool wheels back in the day on the Xterra, and they look good on this thing. But yeah, 17-inch wheels, 315/70 R17 Goodyear DuraTrack MTs. These things have performed really well in the snow. I've had them in the snow, the mud, some water crossings, things like that. They've been great. They are getting a little worn now, so I am starting to consider some options, but for now they'll do just fine. And then also, because this rear bumper is a custom bumper, it has the swing out, so my spare is actually mounted up on here, which frees up a ton of space underneath the truck, which I'm not sure what I'm going to do with that yet, but the spare is back here on the back, which is pretty handy. So next, let's talk about armor. This truck was basically the shop truck for P&P Engineering. So all of the armor on it is P&P Engineering stuff. Now the armor underneath the truck is a mix of aluminum and steel, just for some weight savings, but it does have the gas tank, the transfer case, the engine, the radiator, all those skids on there. The front bumper, of course, is 3/16-inch steel P&P bumper as well. The roof rack is an aluminum P&P rack. I will say that there are some like bolts that don't quite line up on it or won't quite go in tight, so I've got some work to do to kind of get this thing tightened up and figured out. I'm planning to mount a solar panel up here, so again, if you're not subscribed, click subscribe, because there's so many things I still have to do to this truck. But so a solar panel will be going up here to kind of keep my batteries topped off. I'm putting in a dual battery setup with a REDARC Manager 30 and Red Vision system, so there's going to be, again, tons of cool stuff coming on that. But so that's the rack. It does have the P&P sliders, which are really nice too. I do like those. And then of course the rear bumper is the P&P high clearance rear bumper with swing out. As far as the rear bumper goes, again, I like it. The high clearance has given me access to some trails that I thought I was going to rub on for sure, because you know the overhang on this is way longer than the Xterra. But because of how high the clearance is, I haven't had any problems. The only sort of complaints I have about the bumper is the bushing in here. This thing is really hard to get the pin in and out of. It's like it's a little too tight for the pin, but that's a minor concern. The bigger sort of problem is when you open this, you know, unlike a lot of them that you can get nowadays, this doesn't have any sort of like a locking pin or anything. So this thing just kind of swings free, which makes it a little bit annoying. You know, if you're trying to get into the back of the truck, or if you're on a hill like I am right now, it just kind of swings around. So you kind of have to open your bed and then let it kind of rest against it. I have had problems with it kind of pinching some of the wires and stuff that run back here for the backup camera or the lights for the plate mount. But aside from that, I mean, it's a relatively minor concern. What I may do at some point is have another fabricator drill me a hole or something down here for a pin, or use that existing hole there and put a pin in it. Something like that, so that I can at least keep it from swinging back and forth, which would be great. And then the rack, of course, is P&P too. Again, it's just a good, solid, basic rack. There's not a whole ton of craziness to it. It is a little bit difficult to mount things too because these holes are so big. So I am actually in the process right now of working with Extrusion Overland to get a new custom rack built by them. Their extrusion racks are awesome. I mean, it's literally just got tracks all over the place. So you can use all kinds of custom mounting methods. You can buy them from big box stores and stuff, so you're not tied into their system in order to be able to mount stuff, which I really like. So again, that will be coming in the future as well. But overall, I really like this rack. I mean, it's fine, right? It's a very standard sort of rack, but there's nothing wrong with it. One quick note that I will say is, you know, again, I bought this truck from P&P. I really like the armor. I did have a pretty bad experience buying the truck. Unfortunately, the truck broke as I left, and then, you know, the guy agreed to fix it, and then after a couple months of kind of chasing him, kind of turned ugly, and unfortunately, it didn't go so well. So I ended up having to spend a bunch of extra money of my own to tear the engine apart and find out that the timing chain guides that he had done before unfortunately weren't done correctly, and that is what caused the problems with the engine and caused the truck to stop running. So again, I just want to be fully transparent with you guys. I really like the armor. I think it's really nice. I like the look of the bumpers. I like the rear bumper. I like the sliders. I really like all the armor for the most part. The only one that really has any sort of issues is the cab rack. It just doesn't quite go together very well. But again, the armor itself is really good. Unfortunately, I can't personally recommend working with P&P because I just worry that you guys may have a bad experience like I did. All right, so now let's dive into suspension. So again, my truck in the front is Titan swapped, meaning that it does have the bigger CVs from a QX80. It does have Radflow coilovers with 2.5 inches of lift, stainless steel brake line. It's got the brakes off of a Titan, which is kind of nice. He did set it up so that the lower control arms and the upper control arms are greasable, which is really nice. So they're all maintainable. But again, 2.5 inches of lift, which then to fit these 35s, you can see there's a significant amount of body cutting that had to happen. The fenders are pretty cut. The rears didn't have to be cut up too bad. It's mainly just by the front of the wheel well. So you can kind of see there where he cut, just to make sure there was clearance when it was fully flexed out. But other than that, the rears fit pretty well. So speaking of the rears, it is on Bilstein 5100s, I believe, in the back here. And then this is a full Old Man Emu leaf pack. All right, guys, so now that we've talked about wheels and tires, suspension, bumper, armor, lights, that's most of the modifications to the truck. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about camping modifications. So my rooftop tent, my top mounted stuff there, the stuff that I've got on my rack, my trash bag, all that stuff too. So I'm going to walk you through all that stuff. I'm going to show you kind of what I'm running. Again, there will be links in the description either to all this stuff or one to my page where you can just get it all in one place. So if you're looking for any of this stuff, hopefully it's helpful. So as far as camping gear goes in the truck, you know, for me, part of camping is the long drives that I have to take anyways in the Midwest to get to like a national forest. You can see it's filthy, sorry. But I do have a 10.1 inch touchscreen Eonon head unit here. I love this thing. It's really inexpensive, but for the money, it's a $300 head unit, and I can run Gaia on it. I can do all kinds of cool stuff. It's basically like having a tablet in your vehicle, which is really nice. In addition to that, I've also got my Midland MXT 275 GMRS radio mounted in here full time. That's a great unit if you're on GMRS, which is kind of the go-to nowadays for overlanders and off-roaders. But this thing just works fantastically. I've also got my WeBoost, which I've got kind of hidden over here, out of the way. That basically connects to this antenna up here, which boosts my cell phone signal. So when I'm out in the middle of nowhere and I need to get a hold of someone, I can get texts through and things like that where I may otherwise not be able to. I will put a tag up here, card up here to the video that I made about the WeBoost. If you're curious about that and want to learn more, I will show you more about that. Of course, if you're an overlander, you got to have patches. So I've got quite a few of those, quite a few patches. I'm kind of a hoarder of patches. I do have this little Smitty built trash can in here, which I actually use all the time. If I, you know, eat a mint or have a receipt or something that I want to get rid of, I like to keep my truck as clean as possible, which I know sounds funny because it's kind of a mess right now. But so I will throw that in there. It's just a little sealable trash bag, but it keeps my truck a little bit neater. So that is that. I also have this Smitty built seat cover. Again, if you're familiar with Nissan Frontiers and Xteras, the seat wears right here, and you usually get a hole. So just to kind of cover that up, I got this thing. It's really intended for a Jeep, but it works okay for an Xterra or a Frontier. If your seats are really ratty, for about $100 you get this. You get a number of MOLLE attachable bags, and I think I got that trash bag with it as well. So that's kind of nice. Moving around to the back here, I did do a video recently, and again I'll put a card to this, with directions, dimensions, exactly how to make this little shelf that I made. But I just wanted to be really simple, so I made a shelf that I can, you know, store some gear back here on and then mount my fridge slide to up here. But so now I can just, you know, mount my fridge in there. I removed the 40% part of the seat, but then I've just got my IceCo fridge in here, mounted on this slide. Really easy to access, and again, when I have my awning out, It is under the awning, so I can access that. I can put a table here by the side of the truck. I can do cooking and stuff here under the awning where I am, you know, lit up by those lights that I mentioned earlier. Behind the bed, I have access to all my stuff. So that works out really well. That locked away in there. And then there is a pretty significant amount of storage underneath. So I've got like a toilet tent in here. I put my chairs under here sometimes, things like that. So there is a pretty decent amount of storage underneath of it as well. So moving around to the back here, I will again put a card to, I did a review / how to open this awning up and how decent this awning is. This is an OVS 180. They also make a 270, which is really, really awesome. They're freestanding. You don't have to use legs on them or anything like that. They function really well. They have a ton of coverage space, which is really nice. So when I pop that thing out, I basically, you know, right now you can see I'm really close to some trees. I even have one digging into the cover here. It's pretty tough though. It took it. But so when you have room, you open this thing up and it will cover the entire side of my truck and even part of the back, which is really nice. So moving around to the back here, of course, I have mentioned this before, and I've also done a video on the decked system and what I think of it. It does take up a tremendous amount of your bed. So it basically leaves about 6 inches above the decked system that you can use. But for overlanding, like, it's really nice that I have this waterproof storage back here. It has a ton of space in it. So I keep most of the things that I try and keep in the vehicle, from recovery gear to, you know, I've got some fluid chain oil for my chainsaw. I've got fire starting stuff. These are the straps for my awning to tie that out. I've got some extra fuses if I need them. I've got a propane tank. This is all my fire starting stuff. And then in this one, I've got my Unijack, which is, this thing is pretty awesome. Replaced my high lift jack, takes up less room, and I feel a lot safer with it. And then I've just got some random tools and bungee cords and things like that. And I also keep my Camco leveling blocks back here as well. So, and again, you can see I'm not even using all the space. I haven't even quite figured out how to use it yet. In addition to those two big drawers, then you've also got storage on both sides. So I've got, you know, a thing to wash my dishes, some soap down in there, some fire starting liquid, and then on the other side, down here, I've got my water on top of right now, but this is all my recovery stuff. So I've got recovery straps, some D-rings, all my recovery stuff is in that one. But again, all this is waterproof, which is really nice. And then usually I will strap, like, you know, my water back here, and then I've also got a dry food storage box up there full of like Mountain House meals and things like that. I did, and I will link to this video as well, I did mount a chainsaw mount inside the spare tire that just fits perfectly over the back of the tailgate. But that way my chainsaw is easy to get to when I get to camp and I want to process wood, or if I need to get to it, it's right there. But it's also out of the way. It's the other nice side effect is when this closes, it's under the rooftop tent, so it's waterproofed. Not completely, but mostly. So it stays out of the elements, which is just a really nice benefit and kind of part of why I did that. So then, of course, my last US bags, Oscar's Mobile Hideout, one of my favorite trash bags. This thing is a beast. It's made of really high quality material. I've had it for like a year and a half now. You can barely tell. I mean, there's some rub marks on it. I did burn a little hole in it with some ashes from a fire one time, which that sucked. But I mean, not the bag's fault, right? It does have a Velcro patch spot down there, which I also like because I've got one of my patches on there. Link in the description below if you want to buy some merch. And then up above here, my Rugged Bound Big Country 4x4 rooftop tent, wedge style tent, 7 feet by 4 feet. It's a really nice tent, really well built. Solid aluminum construction for the housing, and then one of the most comfortable mattresses I've ever slept on in camping. So that's really nice. And then of course the awning out the back, you've got screens and windows all the way around, so it's super comfortable. Really cool, tons of attachment points. You can see the rail there where my ladder is right now. There's also one of those on the back, and there's one on the other side. So you can mount multiple things to this. Again, I have an OVS awning, but if I had a Rugged Bound awning, you could actually mount it using that system, which is really, really nice. So it all kind of works and plays together. And then for my waterproof shoe bag, I have a Last US Bags Rooftop Pannier is what this bag is called. But again, it's really awesome. It has like Velcro. It has like elastic built into the top so it stays closed when you put your shoes down in there. And then, I mean, I've had this in snow, freezing rain, everything else. You clip that, put your shoes in it, and it keeps them 100% waterproof, which is the goal, right? Like when I get up in the morning, I don't want to be sitting here freezing my feet off in wet shoes. So that thing is pretty awesome. Other than that, on this side, kind of the final thing, I'll show you here. I've got some other junk in here, so apologies for that. But the REDARC system that I've talked about for a little while is about to be installed. So I've got it mounted in here with the TVMS. and the Manager 30 down there. And then I've just got to get with a buddy. We're going to wire everything up into this. So again, solar will run through this to keep everything charged. Fridge will run through this. All my lights, the tent also has an Anderson plug, a 50 amp Anderson plug that goes into it, so that you can basically plug this in full time and then you can turn on lights. You've got USB plugs inside the tent that you could charge your stuff off of. Again, I'm going to run the lights off of it. All the electrical needs are going to run through this system, and there will be a Red Vision thing up front where I can control it all. And there's also a phone app, so you can control it on the phone app too, which is super cool. But so that is basically all of the mods for camping. No, it's not, I lied. Up on top of the roof rack, again, using Unistrut like I did for my roof rack, I did build a Unistrut roof rack myself so that I could mount the awning and the tent to it. I'll put a card up to that above, but that thing worked out really well. It's been on there for like a year and a half. It works awesome. So I used Unistrut for these crossbars on top of the Big Country 4x4 / rugged bound rooftop tent. And I mounted my traction boards up there, and then I've also got a Plano gun case, which has like my fire pit, it has a shovel, it has a folding toilet, it has some stuff like that in it. So stuff I don't access all the time, but I always want to have in the truck just in case I need it, all goes up there. All right, guys, so that was my walk around of the 2008 Nissan Frontier. Obviously, as I mentioned, it's Titan swapped on 35, so super capable with the rear E-locker. I mean, I've had this thing through Kentucky, Land Between the Lakes, and Daniel Boone Backcountry Byway. I've taken it to Wisconsin in the snow, and it's performed amazingly. Like, surprised Jeep guys with how well this thing did. So I love the truck now that it's running, now that the mechanical issues are taken care of. It's been a great truck. Again, with 214,000 miles, now with the new starter, new alternator, and everything that I've done to kind of replace stuff, I took it 8.5 hours each way to Springfield, Missouri for the Moore Expo, which, hey, if you want to go check out that video, it's up there. Nissans are super underrated, so definitely if you're kind of between like a Tacoma and this maybe, or a Chevy or a Ford or any of those things, I would definitely recommend checking these things out because you can get them for a fraction of the price of a Toyota Tacoma, for example. So again, if you have any questions, post up in the comments below. If you're not already, make sure to click that subscribe button, click the bell to be notified when new videos drop. I do a couple videos a week, usually like a vlog / podcast type episode every Sunday, where I talk about overlanding stuff in general, and then I do like a gear review or a do-it-yourself mod around like Tuesday to Thursday of the week. So if you're into any of that stuff, I'd love to have you as a subscriber. But again, thanks for watching. Click that like button if you got value out of the video, and we will see you guys next time. Take care.